Hold on.
Wait, I'm allergic.
I got this.
Wait, I'm shy.
Have Jenna get your water full.
That's what I was doing.
Welcome back
Hey,
to
everybody.
Lost Ledgers.
What's up, Dungeoneers?
Dungeoneers?
You can't name our fandom, Zach. we have to discuss these things.
What's up, Daddies?
Denny's?
Daddies.
No, Deddies.
Yeah,
Dead
yeah.
bards?
You
not
can't just
Deadites.
unilaterally come up with that. Like,
What up, DBers?
Welcome back.
We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it. I am Shawn. Below me is Justin. Below
Howdy.
him is Adam.
hey, everybody.
And below that is Zach, who
Hi.
just called you a Deddy.
If anybody listens
Daddy,
to
please.
this without like the video, I wonder what they imagine when you say below me.
We're stacked up like a totem pole. Like,
Yeah.
Whenever, because we only have the one directional mic, so we all have to be in one spot. We can't
Yes.
So we just stack chairs.
like Scooby Doo looking over the edge of a door. This week, what's going on with you guys? Last week we did what did we do? We did a bunch of items based on creature types.
yes,
Yeah.
items based on creature types, because you made a Pokeball for beasts.
I made Pokeball.
Yeah, and we went through those rather quickly.
We did.
We did very
and then-
quickly.
And then the internet gods were like, no, you're not allowed to just have free form open talk about anything. And smited Shawn.
My internet's been good since then, though, since they apparently came and fixed something broken that was outside. So.
Did you also have water in your internet line?
There was absolutely no communication about what was going on with our internet. They were scheduled to come. They came without knocking and left. And then we called them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, they said that they like fixed something outside. It's been fine since."
Cool.
They hit it and quit it on you.
Sounds like the best kind of service, dude. Don't even have to talk to him. Fuck yeah.
I
I mean,
agree.
Anyways, let's talk about feet.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, let's jump into
All right.
today's subject.
Cool.
So this week we came
Great
with
segue.
feats specifically with prerequisites, but also more specifically, no ability score prerequisite and no racial prerequisite, or at least
Those have been done to death. We don't need them anymore.
yeah.
Totally
So,
didn't break that rule.
You
Yeah,
fool.
To be fair, yours is more interesting than that. So it isn't
fair-
just an ability score prerequisite, but
All right. So my first feat is Unconventional Defense. And the prerequisite is the Unarmored Defense feature.
nice.
When you take this feat, increase the ability score referenced by your Unarmored Defense feature by 1 to a maximum of 20. While you're wearing armor, you use the ability score referenced by your Unarmored Defense feature instead of your Dexterity score to calculate your AC. Furthermore, any feature that provides benefits while you are not wearing armor no longer has that requirement. So this lets you play a monk or barbarian that wears armor if you want to.
Interesting.
Huh.
So
This seems almost just theming.
Well, you wouldn't be able
So-
to be a monk because monks can't do anything with any armor on.
Furthermore, any feature that provides benefits while you are not wearing armor no longer has that requirement.
I was thinking about the previous slide. I missed that in my mind. My mind just said, "Okay, the feat's done."
To be fair, normally when I say furthermore, nothing matters after that, but
so real quick, this doesn't it's not like, oh yeah, your dex and your constitution modifier.
nope, it is instead of. So
Okay.
you'd be wearing, I mean, it doesn't matter with heavy armor because you don't add anything to it anyways, but you could be a barbarian wearing medium armor and get a +2 from your con for your AC.
Okay. I'm
Huh.
curious as to
And barbarian can wear medium armor without their rage even being affected anyway. So I was gonna say something about any feature that provides benefits while you're not wearing armor, because the barbarian technically doesn't have that restriction, but since the only restriction that they have doesn't matter, it doesn't actually affect anything.
Great. I wasn't super careful with that wording because I figured that we could change it to something that actually did what I wanted it to.
I do
But-
feel like this probably would warrant different warning because ability score referenced by your unarmed defense probably want to be more specific because technically it references both dexterity and the other thing.
Right. Increase the non-dexterity ability score referenced by your unarmored defense feature. But also,
Yeah.
if you want to pump your dex when you take this feat,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
sure, do that. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything because even with the second ability, like you'll just replace dexterity with dexterity. Okay.
So the thing that sucks with this for monks is they don't get proficiency in armors to begin with. So you would have to be a race that
It would-
has it,
Or a multi-class.
or a multi-class. That's true, or multi-class. It would work for the barbarian because barbarian gets light and medium armor proficiencies.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things for where this fits better for the barbarian, but I wouldn't.
This is
I
best for the barbarian, I would agree. The monk is a little bit strange just because you would have to you're multi-classing in something else, whether barbarian or fighter or something to get your armor. And then you'd be getting this so you can use your wisdom in place of your dex. That doesn't fix any of the mad properties necessarily.
Well, but it does mean that you don't need your dex as much. If you were doing,
Yeah.
let's say like I don't know,
paladin?
let's just say cleric monk, because some clerics give you heavy armor with your subclass at level 1. So like you could do
True.
1 level in life cleric and then the
That's
rest
true.
in monk, and then like with heavy armor it doesn't really work. But like you'd be able to wear heavy armor and still get your monk shit, like your extra movement and things like that. And then you wouldn't necessarily need a dex. You could be doing a strength monk, for example.
Well, that's another thing is that if you don't meet the strength requirement of the armor, you don't you don't get the 10-foot movement doesn't affect you as much because you're a monk.
Right? Yeah.
So that's a small thing, but an interesting thing to think about. I think this does
Yeah.
this does inspire, I think, a little bit of like thinking to like think
yeah.
about where this is best fit.
Well, and I don't think that this is I don't think this is a feat for power gamers. Like,
Yeah, I don't think so.
There's no like, oh, there's this crazy build that only comes online with this feat. It's just like, oh, that's neat, and that's why I made it a half feat, because I was like, this really needs just a little bit of extra something, because it's probably suboptimal for most barbarians and most monks.
well,
like,
if you take
My concern is that it's still not strong enough to take, even because if you're sacrificing ASIs for this, like, I mean, you get 1, but just getting that for it doesn't quite seem worth it.
well, but if you're for example playing a monk with low dexterity, or even just like middling dexterity, like let's say that you've got a 12 dex but you have a 15 in wisdom, like this gives you a +1 to your wisdom, potentially bumping it up to a +3 from a +2. That gives you a +2 to your AC, on top of the fact that you can now wear armor while doing stuff.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, and like at best as a barbarian, you're probably only gonna have like a 14 dex.
well,
So
and
like,
to be fair, a 14 is where the benefits to a barbarian cap out if they're wearing armor already.
that's true. That's true.
But
Unless you're wearing light armor.
true, yeah.
But
if you're foregoing your properties that require you to be unarmored, wearing light armor doesn't seem worth it to me.
but
I don't know
But
if
it
you
does-
max out your con as a barbarian and get light armor and get a 17 AC on top of just using your con.
Oh, you're talking about with this feature.
Yeah. If you had this
Oh, yeah.
feature
Absolutely.
and you're a
yeah.
barbarian, light armor is better than no armor now, like
Yeah.
for most classes. But it's true
Yeah.
now for the barbarian, and you can full dump dex and not worry about too much. The only thing you have to worry about is your
Your
initiative,
dex saves.
and your dex saves. But you get advantage on both of those things as a barbarian.
So, I mean, that's pretty fine. And I
Yeah.
mean, this I really like because you and I were talking about this the other day about how like this feels like really thematically nice for the barbarian, because like there's like you're still gonna wear like light armor. Like I would want to play a barbarian with light armor just so that way I could fucking like fit that aesthetic, that theme better.
Mhm.
Yeah, having this to allow those types of themings, I think, is definitely nice.
Yeah,
And it's
because
not
as much as I
by any means.
as much as I do love playing the shirtless barbarian, like sometimes I want to play a barbarian who wears clothes. Like
It's also nice too because then just allowing them to wear like armors and whatnot offers so much more that you can do with the class from
To
a
be-
role playing and mechanic standpoint.
To be clear, you don't have to wear no armor and no clothes.
You
But
do.
you can
if you're
Blasphemy not to.
if you're not wearing armor, why are you bothering
Yeah.
with clothes?
Yeah, why are you wearing clothes then?
just like real life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I like
listen, clothes are light armor.
Sean's version of like a barbarian where instead of rage, it's kind of like focus or something like
Yeah,
that.
trance
Like
and stuff.
theming your rages differently.
Right, yeah, I think that this opens up some interesting character choices, even if they aren't strictly speaking like optimal in combat. Like,
Yeah.
well, and also like maybe you've got like cool armor that you want to use, and it's like, well, I couldn't really justify it before, but now with this, it's like, oh, I can add my con mod to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, why not?
I don't think this is bad. I think it's good. I think it just kind of fits a very specific build that somebody would be going for, which is fine. And
This
I
is-
think that that's helpful, honestly.
This is definitely the most niche of my 3 feats. But it was, I don't know, this was the like bolt of inspiration that I had when we were first talking about this idea.
Yeah, I could
I like
see this. Like, I can't think of a build off the top of my head that this would allow that's broken. But I am on the page with Zach where I feel like maybe it is a little bit understated. Like,
I was thinking about giving it one more feature. Somebody lost internet.
oh,
No.
No.
Oh, I lost the Twitch stream.
Oh. I mean,
What?
we're so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
as
no,
far
it's
as I
back.
could tell,
Okay.
it's still good.
That looks like
Yeah.
that was a problem on my end.
You fucking fool.
I don't even remember. Oh, right. I was saying that I was thinking about giving this one more small benefit, but I couldn't think of anything that like made sense to me off the top of my head.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything either.
No, that'd be dumb. I was gonna say, what if when you take the dodge action, you get advantage on the save that isn't your dex?
Oh, that'd be
What if they got a proficiency in an armor of their choice?
That would help with the monk.
It would help with it would help with the monk, but I mean, obviously, the two classes that this sticks out for the monk and the barbarian, but the barbarian already has armor proficiency.
but
It's already
that
a
would
feat to get
it
armor
would-
proficiency.
but it would
Wow.
give the barbarian access to heavy armor with that.
Yeah, but barbarians would lose. Well, yeah, they would still lose the ability
But
to
we could-
rage with heavy armor.
We could reword this feature to make that not the case though.
True. So how would you reword it? Like
Any feature that requires you to not wear armor no longer has that requirement.
Right, but rage doesn't have the requirement to not wear armor. It's the requirement to not wear heavy armor specifically.
Well, okay, so any feature that requires you not wear any type of armor no longer has that requirement.
We'd have to find I that's a close one. I feel like maybe there's still something else there that needs to be. I'm not sure. So that would make it more beneficial to the barbarian. And then go up a tier in armor. There is an issue with that in that there are other feats whose whole sole purpose are to give you increased armor.
That's the thing. It's in 5e they've decided that an increase in one tier of your armor proficiency is worth a feat on its own.
Yeah,
So,
as well
for
as an ASI bonus, but this already gives you an ASI bonus.
Right, so for us to tack that onto this, although really the change to your AC calculation is not high power here. This would essentially then be a essentially different version of the light or heavily armored feat. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the way it is now, all this feat's really doing is saying your AC can be as good as a dex-focused fighter or a dex-focused, well, pretty much anything. And also, you don't lose the benefits of being the class that you chose.
yeah.
Which is not game-breaking.
No, I don't
Um,
think so.
No.
And adding an armor on top of it, would we want it to go up a tier? We'd probably want it to be a specific armor, like, oh, you can use studded leather now. But then you would just probably choose the highest armor, right?
What if it just gives you light armor proficiency if you don't already have it? That way it gives the monk something but doesn't give the barbarian heavy.
Yeah, I mean that would help. That would help with the monk. And I mean I was going through the races, and the only race that actually gets the opportunity to have light and medium armor proficiencies is if you go the mountain dwarf sub race.
I think
So-
that the thing that we'd need to be more worried about with races is that this would let Aarakocra fly in heavy armor.
That's true.
But also, I think that's a stupid limitation anyways. Like, if you've got the carrying capacity to wear the armor, you should be able to fly in it.
Well, that's not. I mean, the reason they're going for the reason they do that with armor is because the armor's heavy. It's because the armor is rigid and doesn't it's not agile to move around in. I feel like there's a simpler thing that doesn't step on the toes of existing feats. It's just not coming to my head right now.
No, I think it's fine as is, if albeit a little bit weak and very niche, but
Yeah,
maybe we can think of something in the future. But
it's definitely very niche. But
I could see grabbing this, especially in the campaign, which is becoming very, very popular. You get a free feat at level 1 thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This would be a good level 1.
Because I think both monk and barbarian get that feature at level 1, don't they?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
absolutely.
But we can probably try and brainstorm that a little bit after. We just need one
one more thing, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more than a ribbon, but just something.
Yeah, a little bit more than a ribbon, I think. Like something that has some mechanical weight, but not too much. But what's our second feat we got here, Adam?
Next up is Wild Swings, which has as prerequisite the extra attack feature. The first time you attack on your turn, you can choose to swing wildly. Doing so gives you disadvantage on melee weapon attack rolls this turn, but any hits you score with melee weapon attacks using strength this turn deal an additional 1d4 damage. This additional damage increases to 2d4 when you reach 11th level, and to 3d4 when you reach 17th level.
This is interesting.
Okay. So this was the one with the giant spreadsheet.
Yeah, this is the one with the giant spreadsheet, and actually I continued editing this for several days after I made that spreadsheet. So, according to my latest spreadsheet, averaging over strength mods from 3 to 5, proficiency bonuses from 3 to 6, and all weapon dice. The spreadsheet?
Is it in Excel or Google Sheets?
It's in Excel.
Fuck, okay, never mind. Go on.
So I compared Great Weapon Master, Polearm Master, Wild Swings, and regular attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Great Weapon Master is the best option for 19% of all combinations. Polearm Master is the best combination for 45%. Wild Swings is the best for 20%. And normal attacks are the best option for the remaining 8% of scenarios. But I do want to say, of those 20% where Wild Swings is the best option, fully half of those are when you have a +6 proficiency bonus and you're attacking something with a 14 or lower AC. That is half of the scenarios where Wild Swings is the best of those 4.
Immediately, the disadvantage is alarming. It makes me think that the damage could be higher, but
I tried to make the damage a little bit more exciting. So the compromise that I was able to come up with was the damage scaling like a cantrip does, because it was originally you have disadvantage on all your attacks, but all of your hits are crits. That's too much.
Yeah.
The second draft was disadvantage on all attacks, but you add your proficiency bonus to damage. That's still a little bit too good. That's the best option about 35% of the time compared to 20% with this version. But I will say that does not account for the fact that Great Weapon Master can't be the best option for a lot of these because there's no D4, D6, or D8 heavy weapon. Polearm Master can't be the best option for a lot of these because there's no D4 or 2D6 polearm. So in a lot of those scenarios, Wild Swings kind of wins by default. Although in some of those scenarios, a normal attack is better than Wild Swings because the disadvantage is a significant downside.
Yeah.
When you say percentage, what are the variables? Are we doing whether or not you have disadvantage, whether or not you have advantage already, whether or not you're doing normal swings, what your
I'm assuming
bonus is,
so.
what your magic weapon is?
So strength mod, proficiency bonus, the weapon die. I'm assuming that you would have had a straight roll otherwise, and that I'm averaging this over all ACs from 10 to 30.
All ACs from 10 to 30. I feel like this is because the reason I asked is because I feel like this is phenomenal for the barbarian, right? Because we got reckless attacks, and then now I have straight attacks on my reckless. But I get to do an additional D4 on all hits, 2D4, 3D4.
Right, so you get straight roll, this additional damage, but everything has advantage against you.
Yeah. And I feel like that might be worth it, especially if you have brutal critic. Well, brutal critical's probably not going to affect it that much. Never mind. Brutal critical does nothing.
The samurai fighter would also really enjoy this because they can get advantage on all of their attack rolls for a turn. So I mean, they would also really like Wild Swings because that's just a little bit because they need. I mean, fighters just need to get as much extra damage as they can because all they're doing is hitting shit.
Oh, I will also say that's also averaging over how many attacks you can make in the turn. So that's checking for 2 attacks versus 3 attacks versus 4 attacks. I didn't take into account the fact that you could action surge. I felt I wanted to account for an action plus a bonus action, and that's it.
Okay.
So Polearm Master includes the extra attack with a D4 of damage. Great Weapon Master and Wild Swings do not.
And the fact that this makes it strength-based attacks, I think, also helps it kind of round it off.
I think that this doesn't make flavorful sense for dex-based attacks, and also that kind of helps restrict the power level a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, also
I don't think the D4 damage and even making a scaling is too bad.
With the thing too, you can still dual wield and do damage with your strength modifier. So even then, Adam, like Wild Swings can also include a bonus action attack.
It could. I wasn't accounting for dual wielding though. I was accounting. My assumption was that you're either wielding with 2 hands or sword and boarding, but it probably would have been a good idea to account for dual wielding, but this already had hundreds of rows, so.
Well, that's what you get for going through a giant spreadsheet for this feat.
One thing that I do have an issue with this feat is that it's basically just a variation on Great Weapon Master's main ability.
That's kind of what I was going for. I was kind of going for fixed Great Weapon Master here, and I'm not sure that it's fixed. It's a similar power level. It's just better in different scenarios. Yeah. So,
it's also a little bit more in line with 5e's design than actually Great Weapon Master is.
Yeah, that's one of my gripes with Great Weapon Master is that they worked so hard to avoid all these floating bonuses and negative modifiers, and then it's like, oh, except for this one, -5 +10, go fuck yourself.
The one benefit that Great Weapon Master has over this, I think, though, is that getting advantage in the game isn't that hard to do. So there's a lot of scenarios where you can totally just use this when you have advantage, but you're already doing that for Great Weapon Master anyway. But Great Weapon Master is a flat reduction, which is more impactful on a
advantage
or on advantage than getting disadvantage on an advantage attack is.
Yeah.
Especially since ACs don't scale super high. This would be more valuable on a monster than a player, though, because players are generally aiming for the same number on the die that a monster is.
That's the thing. So my first version of the spreadsheet was just assuming at all tiers that you have a 55% chance to hit. And once I was happy with those numbers, I did the math with
actually.
I did the math with 55.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's what I should have done. I'm telling you what I did.
Okay.
I did the math for a 55% chance to hit, and once I was reasonably happy with that, I averaged it out over all ACs from 10 to 30.
I think this is gonna be like rapid strikes, where I think we're gonna have to do.
We're going to have to
afterward.
we're going to have to show Reddit the math to be like, no, I swear this is fine, or at least this is in the realm of possibility. Actually, the thing that surprised me the most with doing that spreadsheet is how much more often Polearm Master is the best option than Great Weapon Master.
Oh yeah.
Polearm Master's dope.
Polearm Master is dope.
Polearm Master is dope. Although, Great Weapon Master can also give you a bonus action attack sometimes, and I did not account for that at all because I didn't want to.
Because again, you already had over 110 lines of code, or not code, lines in the
spreadsheet. Yeah.
I like it. Replace it with Great Weapon Master in my game right now.
Zach is a notable hater of Great Weapon Master and Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Coward.
So Alexandra seems to like it quite a bit.
It's useful, but
yeah, you also have a fucking thing that just allows you to shoot 6 arrows in a turn.
That's not my fault.
Surge, baby.
Yeah, I think this is. I
think
I also want to make my own spreadsheet on this afterwards and compare our spreadsheets and talk about it more.
Sure, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I kind of expected that to happen. I honestly thought about putting like an excerpt from my spreadsheet in the document, but I thought that was overkill.
One thing I will say about this feature, though, is that Great Weapon Master actually does have 2 other things on top of its damage thing. And either this thing could afford to be a little bit stronger than that one feature from Great Weapon Master, or we could add something else to this. I just don't know what that would be. Once again,
yeah, I'm fine. I'd be open to brainstorming that. I sort of hyper focused on the damage aspect of Great Weapon Master because that's most of it, but it does technically provide you other features.
All right. Well,
why is there so much fucking numbers going on in my Dungeons and Dragons game, in my role playing game? Numbers?
All right, you guys ready for feat number 3?
No.
You have 3 feet?
Resplendent. Shut up! I'm trying to read. Resplendent Channeler. Prerequisites. The Channel Divinity feature. Whenever you use your Channel Divinity feature, you regain 2d8 hit points, and the next time you hit a creature with an attack before the end of your next turn, the attack deals an additional 2d8 radiant damage.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Very interesting. Whenever you use Channel Divinity.
Ooh, wait. I gotta take a look at exactly what Harness Power says.
What do you mean?
For the because it's I'm thinking like whenever you like regain a spell slot back from doing it.
I mean, yeah, that's using your Channel Divinity. Harness Divine Power is a Channel Divinity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for Cleric.
For Cleric, this is a couple times per short rest, yeah.
You got 2d8 hit points to regain, and then additional 2d8 damage in your next attack.
I'd totally be fine with shuffling the numbers around. This was just sort of off the cuff.
I do like things that. Justin?
I'm sorry, I didn't think that it picked it up. Go ahead. You go ahead with what you're doing.
I do like things that just passively proc on using like titular abilities.
Yeah.
2d8 here. I mean, it's going to depend on.
This seems strong early.
Well,
it does seem overall strong to me. Because it is a free first level cure wounds plus a smite. 5th level cantrip or a smite. Smite's probably a better example. And so next time you hit a creature, not the next time you attack, but it is before the end of your next turn, so you have a limited time to do it.
Yeah.
But it could also be a spell attack. Clerics don't have a ton of those, but Guiding Bolt
That's the thing. It could be extra damage on Guiding Bolt.
Guiding Bolt, maybe a cantrip, but do clerics have any cantrips that do an attack roll?
None
I'm
that I.
struggling to think of one. Oh, Spiritual Weapon is probably the one that's most likely to
Spiritual
get it
weapon would
done.
also be
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
If
instead of 2d8, it should be 1d10.
If you're playing this and you're not giving people feats at level 1, if you're not getting this until level 4, I don't think it's too bad.
You can't get this at level 1 anyways, because clerics don't get Channel Divinity until level 2, right?
Yeah.
Yep, they do not get the Channel Divinity, so then.
Right, so this comes into play at level 4 at the earliest.
I think that's fine then. I think it might be a little bit strong still, like a little bit, but I don't think it's terribly strong at that point.
I think this is at its strongest at level 4. Like when you first get that's when it's at its strongest.
By mid and late, you're kind of just like, this is a nice extra add-on to have, but
that's the thing, because I mean, you're never going to say no to, yes, level 1 Cure Wounds on myself, level 1 Smite on my next attack. That's all awesome. But I think that it is at its strongest at level 4.
So through,
it might need to be a 1d10.
So going through just like kind
of
the
a 1d10, I feel like it needs to have something else though. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good. No,
I agree.
So just going through like the different like cleric domains in the PHB that have, what their channel divinities are. It's a good like half of them that like that you would more than likely use in combat.
Yeah. Well, but I don't think this needs to be equally good for every cleric.
Right. And for whatever reason, like I
mean, paladins can also get this.
Well, yes, but
paladins.
Well, but most paladins have a like combat channel divinity and a non-combat channel divinity.
Yeah.
Whereas clerics get whereas clerics all get turn undead, and then they have one domain specific one.
And harness power.
Well, yes, and harness power, but paladins also get harness divine power, so.
True. So one of my things with this feat is that I don't like that it doesn't scale. It's just 2d8 always. I think you like dice, and I get why.
Most feats don't scale, do they? Like,
well, they scale if you put them in context. Like Great Weapon Master, for instance. Oh yeah, it's always a -5 with 10 damage, but the -5 is like always equally as impactful in theory. And that's why the damage is always the same, because the penalty is always the same, effectively.
Right.
And then, like, if you think about, like, feats that give you extra attacks with a bonus action, an extra attack is an extra attack is an extra attack at every level. So, like, if just, like, in context, they do scale, because of where they apply their bonuses and the penalties and stuff.
Well, but I mean, this kind of scales too, because you get more channel divinities as you level up. You'll be doing this more often.
That is true.
Well, and actually, I don't know. 2d8 I kind of picked because I felt like that's around the number that is impactful at every level. Like, even at 20th level, like, oh, sweet, I restored 10 HP. That's not nothing. Like,
yeah, I like it. I feel this leans better for. I say better, but I don't know how much I actually mean that. I feel like earlier on, this is definitely going to feel better for the paladin, just because they use their channel divinity. Next turn they hit someone, and then they can pump a spell slot to really give a lot of that extra oomph with the extra like smite damage.
This is kind of a free smite slot for a paladin.
And I think this would also maybe make the paladins more willing to use their channel divinities. Yeah, because.
Which, I mean, I'm happy to encourage that. I like features that encourage you to use the not as awesome features of your class. It's like, oh, this feature doesn't shine as much. Let me make something that will make it shine.
Yeah, because like there's been times where it's for I'm playing Raygun. It's like I do I want to use my only action here to try to restrain someone? They probably have a good chance of making out. But if I had this, it's like okay, even if that fails, I heal a little bit, and then the next time when I get next turn, I get
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
chance to hit.
You're getting a little something out of it, even if your channel divinity doesn't work. Yeah.
And if you sacrifice like the use of your channel divinity, uh, to regain spell points or like a spell slot outside of combat, and you still get the healing, but you don't get
Right.
that. That is my only concern, is just using your channel divinity, like
As
just
out of combat healing.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. But I mean,
is it whatever though?
I mean, okay, if you have the channel divinity feature, then you could just you use harness divine power to get a spell slot back. You could use that spell slot to cast cure wounds. Like this
Once
is just
per long rest.
sure,
Right?
but
I'm a cleric. We are getting a short rest. I haven't used my channel divinities. This is a free 68 healing on me.
Yeah.
Before the short rest starts. I don't think that's that like terrible, and that's obviously it's a high level cleric that does that.
right.
True.
But, like, it's not nothing. I don't think it's something worth just like throwing to the wayside and being like, it's not that big of a deal. I think it does factor into how valuable this feat would be.
I do love the idea of a war cleric using their channel divinity to
the plus 10 to an attack.
Yeah, that is actually that makes it even more like thematically awesome. Is just like, oh yeah, my god saying this is gonna hit you and this is gonna hurt even more.
Yeah. That's really cool. Actually, war cleric was the thing that I was thinking of when I wrote this down. I was like, oh man, this would be so sick on a war cleric.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm more concerned about the healing on this in general.
Oh man, I'm thinking about this from my life paladin. It's kind of cool.
That's
Just
what
because
I was the life paladin.
if you guys
Or not the
didn't
life paladin,
already
the life cleric.
if you guys didn't already just talk about it, like you can spam your divinities before a short rest just to heal with this.
Yeah,
We just mentioned
yeah.
that. Yeah. I mean, if we're concerned about the out of combat healing, maybe it should be you can spend a hit die instead of just 2d8.
Mm.
Then it still costs you something.
I still feel weird about that feature of
I think it's not as big of a deal, mostly because this feat has a built-in use this in combat feature built into it. So it's going to often we will have short rests in games where clerics have not used all of their divinities. I do that a lot. I play a cleric one of my campaigns. I'll often have a short rest, and I still have a use on channel divinity left. And yes, I would use this to give my extra stuff. But what I have had left, if I could have like used my divinity in combat and used the additional 2d8 damage, maybe not. I
That's
mean,
the thing.
that just pushes the 2d8 healing into combat. But like,
that's kind of where
you're
you
using
want
it
it to
isn't
be used,
as big of a deal. The biggest problem would be if, and this is a rare situation, but if you have a scenario where you can't take long rests, but you could take a couple of short rests, but in those scenarios, a Celestial Warlock, for instance, would be an issue. It's not as big of an issue for the Warlock because that's only applicable to one Warlock subclass, and this would be applicable to all Cleric subclasses. But that's already a very niche situation already. That's not as abusable as, say, like the Sorlock.
Well, right? and also, this is only self-healing.
Yeah. It's only self-healing, so like that's fine. If your cleric is going to be the one that's like the healthiest, I'm okay with that. I think that
this would be fun on like tanky clerics like Thornton, like a cleric who is in melee and taking hits. Like, yeah, you're gonna eat some damage. Like,
it's a shame that my channel divinity takes a whole fucking hour to cast, bro. Like, you know what? It's like
you've got harness divine power, baby. You've got turn undead.
You're right. I do have those things. I guess harness divine power will. Would I take this on Thornton? Probably not.
Jahan probably would
Shawn
because
probably would because not
Oath
oath.
of,
Life
Life
clerics.
Domain has better channel divinity for in combat.
Yeah, because like imagine that like Jahan's like well everyone's kind of hurt. I'm kind of hurt. Wait. You know what? Everyone else can get some healing, not from me. I'll get some healing myself off of my own ability.
Yeah.
This one's probably fine.
Yeah,
I do love when we spend like 15 minutes like nitpicking something, and then at the end we're just like, yeah, it's probably fine.
I will say, just from personal taste, I probably wouldn't take this as a cleric, just because of the way I play my characters. Just because it is very I want to optimize how much damage / healing I do, as opposed to like, I don't know, the unarmored defensibility feels more like, oh, this is a very specific character build that's like has interesting mechanics that I can play around with.
Sure, yeah. Honestly, I think Jahan probably would have taken this over Fey Touched. Like,
Oh yeah. Have you
Like,
have you written up why you have Fey Touched
Nope.
yet?
no clue. No clue yet.
But yeah, I think this is probably fine mechanically. Like
Cool.
I don't think it breaks anything.
I think the thing
Yeah.
most in danger of being broken by this is the free short rest healing you're getting.
Mhm.
But I don't think it's really that big of a deal. I
No.
don't.
yeah.
Since
Honestly,
it's only on yourself. It's like
the big
it's
thing.
limited.
Yeah.
It's only on yourself, and if you're using it all stacked up right before a short rest, that means you're not using any of your other channel divinities for anything else. You're not using them
Yeah.
in combat to heal and do damage. Like, you're not using them for turn undead or whatever domain specific channel divinity you have. Like, you aren't turning them into spell slots, which like is I think the primary use for channel divinities these days.
so just looking at when you get new channel divinities, you get them at 2nd level,
Yes.
you get them at 6th level,
Okay.
and then 18th level.
Yeah, so you've got a maximum of 4 per short rest, right?
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
admittedly, that is at when you get it at 6th level, that's 4 additional. I'm just saying this very loosely. Hit die.
Well, 6, right? Because you get 2 channel divinities at level 2, and then a third at level 6.
Right. I'm saying for the most part, I think where it's arguably where this would be at its biggest problem would be level 6 when you've gotten 2 uses out of it.
Yeah, that's 6d8 healing per
4.
short.
4d8 because you have 2 at level 6.
I just said, do you get 2 at level 2? And you didn't correct me. Okay, so it's 1 at level 2 and then 2 at level 6?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
My bad.
I don't think that's that big of a problem.
It's 4d8 of self healing,
Yeah,
which is it's big. It's not nothing, but I don't think it's. I mean, this is a feat. This is not a half feat. This is a feat. This is a full feat, and I don't think that 4d8 of healing is as good as Great Weapon Master.
Yeah, if you get this, then you're using your divinities more often, probably, and you're sacrificing not getting anything else. So you better be using your divinities more often. Like that's what you got this for. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. This encourages you to really aggressively use your channel divinities.
Yeah, I agree. I was just like I said, I think my main concern was just how strong. Like, what would this be at its strongest point? And I think level 6 is its strongest point.
Probably, yeah.
But
I'd argue level 4 or 6. Just that the damage early for having the extra damage at level 4, but
at level 4, this is a once per short rest ability.
Yeah. But I mean,
I think it's fine.
I just saw Miguel's messages. God, why you like this?
Miguel's our biggest fan. Don't be like that to him.
You can't be mad because he spelled Burzum wrong too.
I know, That's why I'm mad.
Let's move on.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm glad you guys liked all of my feats.
Lot to talk about for these ones. Can't wait to get the Justins who says that they're controversial. And I already saw their very strange prerequisites, so we'll see about that. Zach, what do we got here?
We've got broken rules to our.
Can I just say, first
format
of all,
immediately
that the name of this first one is such a Zach name for an ability.
No, that's why we fucking love it.
First one is strength beyond strength. Prerequisites: proficiency in athletics and a 20 strength ability score. Increase your strength score by 2 and increase your maximum by 2.
Fuck yeah.
You can use any two-handed weapon with one hand. You can only have one two-handed weapon equipped in this way at a time.
I'm fucking sold, yo.
Yeah,
This
dude,
is
this is fucking sick.
This
Is
is
this exactly
obviously
what-
busted as fuck. This is so busted in so many ways. You get to go over the 20 max. You get a +2 ASI as part of the feat, and I can hold a great weapon or a great sword and a shield at the same time. So not only are you getting +1 to your attack and damage with the great weapon or the great sword, you're also getting a +2 AC to be able to wield it as well.
What do you want me to put a level cap on it?
I think that dropping the strength ASI would do wonders for the balance of this.
Or even here's what I said. You could still have increased like the maximum that your strength can go up by 2.
Oh, actually, that'd be interesting. Increasing the maximum without increasing the stat.
Yeah, like I think I'm sure it goes up to 22, and arguably as a barbarian, if you go to level 20, you can
get up to a 26
strength.
strength. Yeah,
But you're a
Zach,
fucking level 20 barbarian.
did you make this feat just so you could have it for Rukagath? You constantly play the curse. Like, I'm strong enough to hold a weapon with one hand, right?
I just want to be able to hold two-handed weapons with one hand. That's it.
This is awkward because I've already made this feat for my campaign. I just haven't released it. Obviously not this exact feat, but I agree.
No,
I think there should be a feat out there that lets you hold a two-handed weapon with one hand.
My original idea was to just have your maximum go up by 2, but I wasn't sure if that felt too awkward.
I mean,
That would be
nothing else
awkward.
does it, but I think it's cool.
I think
It's cool.
but
I do think it would be awkward just because it would be like, I don't know. It was like, oh, I get more strength.
Well, yeah, because think about it like this too. Like you are sacrificing your ASI to make the maximum go up, like to make the maximum ceiling go up by 2, but you don't get anything else. Like you have to wait until you get another ASI to be able to fully utilize that.
Well, you get the two-handed weapon.
Yeah.
Oh, my mistake. I thought that.
No, I'm not gonna do just the 2.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
That's what I thought you were saying.
No. Instead of you still get the two-handed. Two-handed's always there. Okay.
I will note for you guys' barbarian combat actually wouldn't work because you don't get an ASI past level 20, and the barbarians thing specifically says the max becomes 24, not that it increases by 4.
Oh, that's stupid as hell.
Yeah.
Damn.
We're gonna change the rule for that one. Fuck it. It fits my narrative better.
If you were somehow able to get the barbarian feature and then this, then it would work. But if you got this first, then it wouldn't work. It's the same with the books, actually. If you have the books and they increase your maximum by 2, and then you get the barbarian thing, technically by order of operations, you'd still be maxed out at 24.
Unless you get the book after you're already at level 20.
Yeah, unless you get the book afterward.
That's so stupid.
I don't think
like
that's something that Wizards considered, but the way those two things are worded, you'd max out 24 anyway.
Listen, barbarians can't read anyways, so like they're never gonna need those books. Like,
I do think this feat's too strong. I think you can get a 20 strength and proficiency in athletics pretty early on, especially if you're rolling for your ability scores.
I think
because with point by, you have 17 from your race and then your thing. You can get to 20 in 2 feats, which means by level 12, you can get the 22 strength and wield, which sounds late enough, but probably like half of the tables roll, and they're probably going to roll something over a 15. And if they're a fighter or barbarian, they're probably putting it in their strength. It'd be very easy for them to get to that 20 even earlier.
What if I just take away the 2 increase, and it's just your max goes up by 2?
You could even have this by level. You could even have this by level 4 if you're using Tashia's like custom lineage. If you are Tashiya, Tashiya.
I don't think it's possible to get this by level 4
with point buy.
Because the Mountain Dwarf gets a +2 to their strength score.
Right, so 17. Where are you getting? How are you going to get to 4?
Never mind.
Okay.
Cool.
Never mind.
Only if you roll for your stats can you get it that early. If you get an 18 in a stat and get a +2 from your race, then you can get it at level 4. That's the earliest you can get it. That's only if you roll for stats, which obviously lots of tables roll for stats, so it's not impossible. But 18 is also extremely rare. It's 1 out of 216.
I agree it's too strong as it.
But I would have been surprised if you disagreed. Because like we said, this is a +1 to everything with the strength related.
Yeah.
And a +2 AC because now you can hold the shield with it.
Or you can just have another weapon.
Yes, that's the one.
You could have another weapon.
Imagine your
my version of this feat. I'm not going to version of this feat because it's distracting.
Although unless you have the dual wielder feat, the weapon in your offhand would still need to be light.
True.
Yeah, imagine your. I was just gonna say, imagine your magicless paladin for Shawn's next campaign, where you just have a big fuck off sword in one hand and then you're whipping the other.
I mean, that character's dumping strength. What are you talking about?
Fuck! Why is it so? Whatever. Fuck it.
Yeah, he's a whip master. You think he's gonna be using strength for that? Nah. He's gonna be fucking flurrying that thing around.
Yeah.
If we drop the +2 to strength but increase the maximum still. It's rough because that just opens you up into not having the opportunity cost of half ASIs. So if you increase the max by 2 still, I can still take something like Heavy Armor Master and be like, I still get the strength now. It's not just because you're already maxed out strength. This feat gives you the ability to take more feats without losing anything, right?
Yeah.
Which is normally the problem if you max out your ASI too early. Is that fuck, now I can't take Heavy Armor Master, is just less valuable now because I get nothing from it, or I only get half its benefits.
I forgot about the requirements. That makes sense.
I don't know. I think that's still fine though.
I just think being able to hold a 2-up weapon in one hand is just really strong.
I mean, I don't think it's really that strong because the best damage for a 2-handed weapon is 2d6. So that's an average of 7 damage per hit. I don't know. I don't think that's insanely strong.
I think it's strong for the Barbarian, for instance, because the Barbarian does keep their rage with the shield and their unarmed defense. They get advantage on their attacks, and they have brutal critical, and obviously getting advantage will increase how often they crit. And with a great axe, they will be able to just roll tons of d12s on a crit. But again, what is brutal critical?
Well, but also it. So I don't know. I think that in that case, though, essentially all this feat is giving them is a +2 to their AC. And Medium Armor Master gives you a +1 to your AC and is a half feat, correct?
No, it's not a half feat.
Medium Armor Master is a full feat? That's
it also doesn't give you... Well, I guess it does give you a +1 if you're mad and get your dex up.
Well, and why would you take Medium Armor Master if you aren't going to get the +1 AC from it?
It's a good point. Another good example would be Dual Wielder, which does give you a +1 and... Or no, not Dual Wielder, sorry. It's... Which one's the one usually plus one healing to?
Defensive duelist.
Defensive duelist is the one usually the plus 1 AC.
Right. So let's see. So there are feats that give you a +1 to AC and something else. So I think it's fine for this feat to just give you a +2 to your AC. Right.
You were correct. It was just the dual wielder feat.
It is dual wielder that does that?
Yeah.
So dual wielder gives you +1 and lets you wield weapons that aren't light.
Yeah.
So, okay. If we got rid of the ASI, probably.
I was saying, if we got rid of the ASI, I think it is 100% balanced. I
think it's valuable for the game to have you can hold hold a heavy weapon with one hand feat. I was surprised when I got the game that it didn't have one of those feats.
Yeah, and I mean,
technically, the heavy and two-handed properties are not the same thing.
Because originally I was going to make it heavy, and I thought about actually adding with this you also ignore the heavy.
This probably should be only for heavy two-handed weapons because this lets you. Actually, no. What you need to do is restrict this to melee weapons so that you can't dual wield longbows.
Well, you can't because you can only have one. You can only have one two-handed weapon.
But you could have a longbow and a short.
And a sword.
Short bow's two-handed and a sword, or a longbow and a crossbow,
or a longbow and a shield.
Listen,
if you have a shield,
if you have a longbow when your fucking strength is at a 20.
Hey, maybe you're one of the people who plays at a table where longbows are strength ranged weapons.
All right.
In that case, they're absolutely loving this feat.
So, yeah.
That is a popular homebrew. But no, I mean, I think that it should restrict itself to melee weapons because otherwise you could wield a heavy crossbow in one hand.
Sure.
That's kind of fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. Just a heavy crossbow and your shield. That's pretty. That's kind of cool.
I know that the conceit of this episode was to not have prerequisites on just ability scores, but I think if we drop the proficiency in athletics and make it just an ability score thing, I'd also, just for the sake of homogeny, make it a 19th strength requirement. Because all of the ability score requirements for feats are odd numbers, and they do that intentionally so that odd numbers have some value. So like if you did a 19 strength ability score requirement, and then the only benefit was you could hold a two-handed weapon with one hand, heavy melee weapon, whatever, I think that'd be fine for a feat, and I think that's something that the game is actually kind of missing, honestly.
Okay.
So
I'm fine with that.
So that would be drop the proficiency requirement, drop the ability score requirement down to 19, drop the ASI entirely, and then just reword the two-handed thing so that you can't wield a longbow and a shield.
Yeah. In that case, would you be opposed to me also adding the heavy feature you can disregard, basically?
No, I think that's needed.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we should add that.
Because then small creatures also would be able to have.
Yeah, then a halfling can finally wield a heavy weapon.
That's also true.
One hand.
Incredible.
Yeah, that'll allow small races strong small races a way to actually use heavy weapons.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it fixes two problems that D&D has, in that there's no way for small races to have heavy weapons, and there's no way to one hand a heavy weapon.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with those changes. I might change the name at that point, although Strength Beyond Strength still kind of fits.
I think Strength Beyond Strength fits better that way, because this has nothing to do with heaviness. It's just handedness.
Yeah, originally I thought it was the heavy, and then I realized two-handed was something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because heavy is the thing that fucks over small races. Two-handed is the thing that requires you to use two hands. It's just that every heavy weapon is two-handed.
Yeah.
But not every two-handed weapon is heavy.
Just call it Great Weapon Wielder.
I'm sure that'll go over well.
What about
I mean, it fits, because this feat would go very well with Great Weapon Master, because that requires a two-handed weapon.
Yeah.
So
what about Strength Beyond Measure instead of Strength Beyond Strength?
I'm fine with that change because the only reason that I made it strength beyond strength was because that I was increasing your strength score beyond the strength.
Yeah, beyond the normal maximum. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd be fine with that change.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about names, I think a name that focuses on how strong you are, irrespective of the weapon, I think is kind of inappropriate for this feat. Like, strength beyond strength makes me think, shit, can I like lift a building? Can I fucking like throw rocks? Like, whereas this is just like, oh, you can hold a heavy weapon. And I think something that's like more fitted to like being weapon wielding would fit better. Obviously, the name fit better when you got the strength bonus, but I think we all agree that's a bit too strong.
Yeah.
I'll think of it different.
Well, what do we got next, Zach?
I could just name it Heavy Hitter. Anyways.
Oh.
Actually, that's really good.
That's really good. That's a good name. Heavy Hitter. Hell yeah.
My next one is Deity's Intervention.
Not to be confused with Divine Intervention.
Totally different. Just file the serial numbers off. It's fine.
Requirement, Cleric or Paladin. Once per long rest, you may spend 10 minutes praying. After you finish the prayer, you may choose any number of creatures within 60 feet of you to gain temporary hit points equal to your Cleric or Paladin level for 1 hour. Additionally, while a creature has temporary hit points from this effect, they add +1 to all d20 rolls. Your deity graces you with a glimpse of the future. This is basically Portent, but 1 roll.
I read it and I was
literally just copy and pasting the Portent text.
Pretty much.
Adam, what do you think of the first ability?
I mean, prayer healing kind of sucks.
Because of the 10-minute requirement?
Yeah. 10-minute casting time is real rough on basically anything. I guess this is good if you know you're going into a fight, but
well, I
don't know.
If you just do this like at the start of, like if you just do this at the start, oh, it's for 1 hour.
Yeah,
Never
1 hour. This isn't all day.
I mean, you're probably gonna have a good idea that you're going into a fight.
But are you going to have 10 minutes to kill when you have a good idea that you're going into a fight?
I mean, if you also know like that you could take a short rest like at that point, like in a dungeon or something. I think it's.
I thought Adam was going to talk about the +1 modifier that's floating there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, floating modifiers, whatever, man. I don't
know. Such a different like composition of person than earlier when you're talking about them.
Okay, well, Zach has not written a manifesto about how much floating modifiers suck and redesigned an entire system to avoid them.
That's true.
Also, pointing like this works on Discord, but not on stream, so Zach has not done that.
It also didn't work on Discord because your camera flips for everybody else, so we saw you pointing the other way. I think the once per long rest restriction's important. I think it taking 10 minutes might be unnecessary.
Maybe 1 minute?
I think an action's fine. But it's a prayer.
I thought the difference between 1 minute and 10 minutes didn't matter.
I think that it's a lot easier to have 1 minute of time to kill before you go into a fight than 10 minutes.
True.
There are more situations where you can do it, like maybe like you stake out a place and like on the other side of this door or something, maybe we can spend 1 minute doing this as opposed to 10.
Well, and if you're somewhere where
super common.
If you're somewhere where you're expecting like a long gauntlet of fights, you could probably spend a minute at the end of one of those fights before moving on to the next one. You might not have 10 minutes between them though.
Yeah. Here's the frustrating thing about the second ability for me. I know we haven't even finished talking about the first one, but I think it's cool to have more abilities like this. I just know that everyone's going to be like, oh, you're stepping on the toes of the divination wizard. And that
I didn't make
just
it
thinking
as
about
strong
that
as Portland.
infuriates me.
It's only one roll.
It's only
But it
one
is
roll, yeah.
it is the same thing though.
I did think about restricting it to only you could use it on your roll. Because then it would be important, but it's only your stuff. Because your
Or maybe
deity
the
is
same, or maybe the same restriction as Lucky, where it's you can do it on your rolls or roll like an attack roll against you.
I was actually thinking about that same thing. I
yeah,
didn't
your
know
stuff
that was
affects you is fine as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that that's the restriction on Lucky, but that's what I was thinking. Like, any D20 roll that you make or an attack roll made against you.
Yeah, that's.
I
Exactly what
wasn't
Lucky
sure
does.
if that was too restrictive. But if,
I mean,
I'd be
Lucky,
willing to change it to that anyways.
Lucky is already regarded as one of the very strongest feats.
Yeah.
Although this is different from Lucky. It's not just a straight reroll. It is you get to pick the number, which is in certain scenarios better, in certain scenarios worse.
I think in every, well, not in every scenario, obviously, because you can't. If you're being attacked, but the number that you rolled was high, you're not going to
Exactly. That's the thing. If you got a 20, you're not going.
I learned making this that I'm using important wrong. You're supposed to decide before the roll.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's not supposed to be, oh, that seems a little too high. Let me replace it. It's supposed to be, I can't afford for that to hit. You're not hitting.
Yo, fuck that.
I think that if they were to make it today, Portland would probably use the same wording that a lot of other stuff does, which is after the die has been rolled, but before it has been announced whether it hits or not. Like,
I mean, them announcing whether it hits or not has become more the standard now. Because ever since Xanathar's, like with the War Mage, the commonality of once you fail the save, or once you are hit by an attack, or once your attack
right,
hits, stuff
yeah,
like that, you can like do things. I feel like that's becoming more common.
I think that's to help kind of. Because what was it? I know isn't the stigma that like, oh, I can't figure out how I want to word it. Never mind. Ignore me. Ignore me.
I think that the big thing that's trying to avoid is the feel bad of the DM rolls and just announces that it hit without telling you what the roll was. And it's like, oh, well, wait, I could have used Lucky on that if you had told me the roll with not whether it hit or not. Like
that's exactly what the trouble is. I think with a lot of the older stuff, because Lucky has the same thing where it's you have to do it after the die is rolled, but before the outcome's determined. But often those things come at the exact same time.
Right, yeah. Because that's the thing. If the DM rolls the die and tells you the number that they rolled to hit you, you know whether that hit you or not. There is no the outcome is determined. Like,
that only happens in like ability contests or when you're the one rolling the die. And even then, when you're one rolling the die, sometimes you know the monster's AC and shit. But anyway,
that's the thing. After a couple of turns after a couple turns of combat, you know what number you need to hit.
Yeah, I'd be fine with changing this to affecting yourself, like only you and things that affect you only.
I think that would help it.
But then it would basically just be like Lucky but important.
I mean, I think that's
fine. I think that's cool.
I think that is a novel way to recombine those abilities.
Do you think it only one use still?
Probably.
Yeah, I think you have two options here. Make it even more like Lucky, and make it 3 charges and get rid of the first ability, or keep it at 1 and keep the first ability. The first ability, there's so many things going on with it. It's once per long rest. It's 10 minutes. It's temporary hit points, and once those are gone, it's gone. And it only lasts for an hour. But then ultimately, it is a +1 on all 20 rolls, which is both kind of underwhelming, but also pretty good. You know?
Right. That +1, it doesn't sound like a lot until you've played with a floating +1. And it's way better than it sounds.
Yes.
An additional 5% chance of success on every roll you make is huge, especially at higher levels where you're making 3 or 4 rolls per turn. And so, everybody in the party is getting a +1 on everything. That's going to turn a lot of failures into successes over the course of a combat.
It didn't pick it up, but I was whistling when you were saying like you don't know how much that +1 actually matters until you just have a floating +1.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about you. Don't worry.
Well,
There's a lot
I'm
of things
willing
going
to
on.
change the amount of time that it takes to do the prayer, even if I make it like not a prayer or like just a something else. If you wanted it to be an action,
What if
that's fine.
You could just
what
make it a
if
minute.
instead of it being a prayer and being 10 minutes, it's just an alternative use of your channel divinity? Because both these classes get
Oh
channel divinity.
shit! That would be a cool.
Ah.
And then you could just require the channel divinity feature, like I
Yeah.
did.
So you can once per long rest use your channel divinity to dispose or to bestow upon these creatures these temporary hit points that have this property.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that would be pretty cool.
Keep it 60 feet. The temporary hit point number is fine. And
yeah, the temporary
the
hit points number is
one-
fine because like in combat, your like front line are probably gonna lose these pretty quickly, but like casters and like backline are gonna keep these for a while. And
Mhm.
outside of combat, it's a +1 bonus on all D20 rolls for all like social checks, all exploration checks. Like
True, I
it's
didn't even
pretty
think about
good.
out of combat.
Yeah,
You got to think about
Yeah.
combat
No, I didn't think about out of combat.
or out of combat. Yeah, I feel like I feel like that's been a theme in quite a few of our episodes where we're like, oh shit, I didn't think about out of combat.
yeah.
I mean, even
there's-
then, I don't think the +1's breaking anything. It is very nice,
Yeah,
but
it's not.
that's
the
why
thing-
I restricted it to 1 hour and when you had the temporary hit point.
yeah.
That's the
Well,
thing about
and-
a +1 is that it's like it's both actually pretty nice, but also kind of like underwhelming at the same
Mhm.
time.
I think that if the bonus were any bigger than 1, and a floating bonus has the danger of like just
Yeah.
ruining a game.
Yeah.
Because it's like even at +2, it's like, oh fuck, plus
Yeah.
10% on everything? What? It's crazy. I think
But you
plus
also
1 though
know-
is
But you also know that as the person who uses the ability, constantly, every time your party rolls, did you add the +1?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
did you remember the +1? Oh,
Hey,
+1,
That
right?
already happens in my campaign.
Listen,
Yeah.
the amount of time you fuckers forget it is a lot more than
Well,
the amount of times you don't.
and-
To be fair,
and-
you're doing that with anything that you put on people usually, but this
Yeah.
one's just different because
Yeah.
you're putting it on everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I don't begrudge them for getting rid of floating modifiers. I just think that they should have actually done it all the way if they were gonna do it.
Yeah. Or at least if
Um,
they did anything with modifiers, only do it with ability modifiers and proficiency bonus. Or
I
character
would have
level even.
I would have liked the idea of changing this to the divinity thing if Adam hadn't already done one based on that, but I do like that idea. I think that's a good change.
I don't think that we should be putting ourselves in
No.
positions where we're like, I want to be more original though, you know, like
Every time I do it, I'm trying to be unique, but I think
no,
that's
for
a good
sure.
idea still.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. My one concern with this was the way that I have it worded, because I wasn't sure how to word it differently, is if you're multi-classing in cleric and paladin,
Shit.
you can't use like it. I want to be able to use combined levels, but you have to choose which.
I mean, you could just say
Level.
your total number of cleric and paladin levels,
Fair,
right? Because then
Yeah.
if you've only got one of those classes, it just counts that one. But if you've got both of them, it adds them together.
because I didn't want it. Well, I guess because I didn't want it to scale with not cleric and paladin.
Why not?
I don't know. Because because the requirements was cleric and paladin. I guess if we're changing it to channel divinity, then we could make it just your character level.
Yeah,
But-
but even if it were if you weren't doing that, it was just you have at least one level in cleric or paladin. I don't necessarily see a problem with it scaling with your character in some way, as opposed to your class. Just because like, is it that crazy to be like at level 20? Like, it becomes basically useless if you just do the one. But like, should it be
Mhm.
basically useless when even though you're trying to power game, you did pay a feat to have this ability. Should it be invalidated because you didn't go all the way in that class? I personally don't think so.
Only because I made the requirement those classes is the reason that I have that, basically.
I understand that. I just like like for instance, if you take one level in Warlock for Eldritch Blast, I personally do not have an issue with the fact that Eldritch Blast is gonna skin with you regardless of your Warlock level.
Fair.
Like I just think that like the fact that you had to choose that as a spell that you got, it should appropriately level up with you. Which is also why I think Wizards is like moving on to like making everything based on your proficiency bonus and shit, because I think they kind of feel that same way. Or maybe even the community kind of does. Even though the community's not super happy with that change.
The
But-
community is not like writ large happy about almost anything.
Yeah, you'll always get the most outrage from the people who don't like the thing.
Well, that's the thing, because most people who like the change or don't care about the change just won't say anything. People who are happy with the product aren't going online and talking about the product. They're playing the game.
Yeah, I think it'd be
the
fine if you just made this character level.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I think for the sake of like we're running out of time here, I think those changes are fine. Make it the divinity or whatever the fuck you said, not cleric or paladin. Channel divinity. Use a channel divinity in order to do it
as an action or something.
Yeah, as an action, I think.
Well, some channel divinities use actions, some use bonus actions. So
I think this one should be an action.
I think one of them takes an hour.
Oh yeah, I guess if it's just, I was thinking it was. Never mind. I was thinking something. Yeah, make it an action. That's perfectly fine. Everything else is fine, and then character level sounds good to me.
Yeah, and then change the D20 to be like lucky combined with portent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
fuck me.
it's only on yourself.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
Fuck Justin. We're going to his feats.
Look at all these spelling errors that he just realized.
I just realized that the flavor text for Beast Strider and Holy Warrior are the exact same because I copied. They're very similar. Well, you'll notice, but fuck it, that's fine. Beast Strider, prerequisite: Ranger with no levels in Druid. You are more in tune with the wilds of the world than other Rangers. You gain the following benefits. You learn one first level and one second level spell of your choice. These spells must be from the Druid spell list. You can cast each of these spells once without expending a spell slot. Once you have cast these spells in this way, you can't cast them until you finish a long rest. You can also cast these spells using spell slots you have the appropriate level. The spellcasting ability is Wisdom. You gain the ability to use the Druid's Wild Shape once per long rest. The max CR of a beast you can turn into is half with no flying speed.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm too big of a fan. I know the second feat is quite a bit like this. It's just using channel divinities instead of the next one.
I see.
I don't know. I'm not super big on like I'm generally actually a big fan of this is a feat that basically gives you some of the cool features of another class. Like I like Eldritch Adept, I like the Meta Magic feat. And I like those types of feats in like Pathfinder, for instance. There's tons of those in Pathfinder. But I don't know. I don't know.
Is it the fact that it's wild shape in particular that's leading you to not feel it, or
I don't like the wild shape part of this one.
I don't like the wild shape part.
The rest of it I think is fine.
I mean, if you replace the wild shape, if you replace the wild shape with a +1 to Wisdom, this is essentially like Fey Touched or Shadow Touch.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think. Like the first part of this seems fine, but like it seems like it might be too similar to something else.
It's like a Magic Initiate or like the Fey Touch.
That's what I was trying to find. Yeah,
like
Magic Initiate, but you get a second level spell as well.
Fey Touched and Shadow Touched are the things that it's most similar to, except you get to choose the second level spell for this, but it's only from the Druid spell list, not restricted to a school of magic, so stronger in some ways, weaker in others.
Yeah, I think everything about the first part of this is fine. I don't like the idea of wild shape.
I mean, there are two things about this. The first part, first of all, I think there should be a level minimum.
Yeah.
because you can't get second level spells at first level no matter what class you are. And if you just let the people have this at first level, which
you can get a second level spell at first level if you're a variant human who takes Fey Touched.
Yeah.
Do they really get second level? I guess they don't have a level thing for that.
No, you just get Misty Step.
Oh. Well, that is also one specific ability.
It is a specific spell, yeah. So
you could get
you would only be able to cast the second level spell once with this. So.
But the variety of being able to choose a level spell is pretty huge for first level, and there's already first level spells that invalidate low level combat and low level situations. Second level spells would invalidate them even more. Misty Step doesn't invalidate too many things. It is nice to be able to teleport to a spot you can see. There's certain situations where that's extremely valuable, but there's a reason why that's a specific spell. Just like for warlock spells. Or for invocations, there are certain spells that you can do at will, and those typically have a level requirement attached to them for a specific reason.
Yeah, I don't know why it was one of those where I put like no levels in Druid. Like that was one of those like things that pops into my head like last minute because I was originally gonna go 4 levels in Ranger, 4 levels in Paladin. I have no clue why the fuck I did with no levels in Druid.
Honestly, like the 4 level requirement, that might be enough because then you're only getting the second level spells one level early.
Like, I think that's fine.
1 level early for the Ranger, but 1 level late for the Druid. I think that'd be fine.
Right. You're getting it 1 level late for a full caster. But...
I really do not. I get why it's here. I don't like the with no levels in this class thing.
That's right.
Because
I think you could do with taking that away.
Yeah, I think you could do with taking that away. I don't know
why I put it in there. If I'm being quite honest with you, I was like, oh yeah, I want this. I don't know why. No, fuck it. It should just be.
It does make it awkward for the Ranger to be able to wild shape into things before the Druid can. That's an early level thing again. So like,
I looked at it. I looked at it to see what level they get the wild shape at.
Because druids, I believe, are 1/4 CR at second level, 1/2 CR at 4th, and 1 at 8. Is that correct?
So if you make this level 4 restriction, then it's the same CR as a druid of that level.
Yeah, unless you're Circle of Moon, but
right, but then it's weaker than that, so it's not a problem. Yeah. The problem would be if it was stronger than what druids had access to.
Yeah, I think if you make this a 4th level restriction and get rid of all class requirements, I would actually be more okay with this.
Really?
I'm not attached to the you have to be a Ranger, you have to be a Paladin thing.
If for your own theming you wanted to keep that, that's fine, but I don't think it's necessary.
That's fine.
I think more of a like how you feel about this in general.
I think that's fine for the first one, but for the second one, because the difference with the Channel Divinity, it is supposed to open up the turn features more.
We haven't gotten to that one yet.
Right, but Shawn was like,
why don't we go to that one?
Okay. First one, same thing as the first, except it's clerics.
And paladins.
You gain the Channel Divinity, turn undead, that you can use once per long rest. Charisma is your ability modifier. Additionally, if any of your Channel Divinities have a turn feature, if a creature fails its saving throw and is of CR 1/2 or lower, they are instantly destroyed. Pretty much, this is expanding on the destroy undead that clerics get, but paladins can do it too. Low-level fiends, low-level fays. I just checked Tasha's because I didn't know that the Watcher also had a turn feature. It would work on Mephits and then a few aberrations.
This makes me hate the first one more. Because the first one doesn't have any Ranger-specific things going on. It's all Druid stuff. And this one's like, you're also a Paladin.
The problem is that the Ranger doesn't really have anything in common with the Druid other than its spell list.
Yeah. Which...
This is coming back to a problem with the design of the Ranger.
Yeah. Yeah, because trust me, I was looking for something. I'm like, I was like, oh, let me go through like Tasha's, like the different. I was like, I don't know, nothing kind of really that I want. Nah, it doesn't fit with what I'm going here. Looked
I mean,
back
you
at the
could have though.
PHP.
You could have done something like, I don't know. You get the ability to wild shape, but you could also wild shape into like your favorite enemy of that
Oh, holy
CR.
shit! I was just gonna say that same thing. Hell yes.
Like you could have made it more ranger specific, but it wasn't. And for that reason, I was like, this isn't the ranger thing. But then the paladin one was specific to paladins, and now I
Dude,
feel like
that
the
is-
ranger thing's even weirder.
I think that's fucking awesome. The like you can wild shape into your favored foe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm trying to think of like what favored foes would work at half CR, right?
I mean,
I mean,
elementals, Fae.
Elemental. Like you have
Yeah.
Mephits, you have
Yeah.
like Pixies, I think are CR half.
They are. They are.
Let me pull up the
I guess
bestiary.
I guess
There's
I went
plenty
to,
of undead. There's
I went to like
not a dragon though. I don't think there's a dragon.
yeah.
That might be
I went to dragons and ogres. It would work on some. It would work on some of them.
and just like this, it would
Wait.
work on some paladin
The-
abilities.
The pseudo
beasts.
the pseudo dragon is CR 1/4.
Oh yeah, pseudo dragon. That is
Well,
a
there you
dragon,
go.
even though its name would make you think differently.
Well, they,
Oh,
that's a
with
good.
Fae, you could wild shape into a blink dog. Fuck yeah, I love blink dogs.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
please,
cool.
please make it that.
So
Oh,
I mean,
think
like, I think
that's really cool.
you
I think
need
that's a
to do
perfect
something
mix.
like that for the ranger to
I mean,
warrant the ranger prerequisite, or
I mean,
you have to get
exactly
rid of the
what you
turn
said.
thing for the paladin. Otherwise, these feats feel incongruent.
No, it's exactly what we just said about like you in addition to beasts, you can also wild shape into your favorite enemies.
I don't think addition to. I think just your favorite enemies.
I think in
Oh,
addition
like-
to, because the paladin one also gives you a cleric thing and also
I
a
guess so.
paladin thing.
Hey, can you have ooze as your favorite enemy?
You
I
can.
believe so.
Fuck yeah, man. You'd be a gray ooze.
Disgusting.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool, honestly.
Oh man, actually, that change has made me fall in love
Yeah.
with that feat.
Yeah, no, that was a really good change. I couldn't come up with it. I was words.
So we would change both of these to level 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And get rid of the you have to have no levels in druid or paladin
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
or
Yeah,
cleric thing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then just add to the cleric or to the ranger one specifically, you can wild shape into your favorite enemy. of
Fuck
that
yeah.
CR.
Dude, you could wild shape into a skeleton or a shadow.
oh Lord. Oh God, that would fuck up
There
a
is a
lot
small
of low-level
problem.
encounters.
With the ranger one, if you have Fae, if you have like, or if you have a favorite enemy at all that can fly, like the pseudo dragon or the pixie. But I think honestly, you could probably get rid of the flying speed thing. I know the druid would still have that restriction, but this is supposed to be specific to the ranger. So I
Yeah.
think it's okay.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, you could probably keep the restriction for beasts, but it would be weird to word it that way.
I mean, you could additionally you can wild shape into one of your favorite enemies, regardless if it has a fly speed or not. I guess that is weird to word it. Yeah.
It would be weird. It'd be a little weird. Just a teensy bit weird.
Oh fuck! You could wild shape into an Ishit-Shachnal. I fucking love Ishit-Shachnals.
Fuck what? Dunesight, bless you.
They are chaotic, evil, sentient manta rays.
Oh! I know what you're talking about now. Oh God.
So yeah, and I think at that point I'd be okay with these still being class restricted because they actually have things that interact with the class features specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was my issue with the
Man,
first
these
one,
are-
was just because it didn't interact with
Fuck.
the ranger at all.
Dude, this feat makes me kind of want to play a ranger.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never thought that. I don't think those words have ever been said in the history of ever.
As long
That's
as
not
you're
true.
playing
Sharpshooter
Shawn's
exists.
ranger.
If you play my ranger, this is even stronger because the favorite foe feature makes the creature you target into your favorite enemy.
Nice.
It gets treated as a favorite enemy. But anyway, So yeah, those are our changes for this one. I think the turn thing for the second ability is also fine. I will say that it is a little bit odd because they do have a destroy other creatures things under the arcane domain for the cleric, but instead of destroying, it banishes.
What's the arcane domain?
The Arcana domain from is that from Skag?
It might be from Skag.
That's why I don't know what it is.
So they do have some establishment, but Skag subclasses are also.
Well, that's the thing. A bunch of the stuff from Skag has been either rewritten or abandoned entirely.
Yeah, mostly abandoned because I don't think the
Yeah.
Purple Dragon Knight nor the Arcane Domain have been reprinted.
I think, well, neither did the Barbarian subclass. I think only the Blade Singer and some of the races.
Yeah. But anyway, we can move on to mine, which should look very, very familiar, especially the second one, because we've done it on the podcast already. So the first one's Cantrip Slinger. You may have already seen this if you play my games.
Yes.
Prerequisite 5th level, and the ability to cast at least one cantrip. You are especially quick-fingered with your cantrips. You increase one of your mental stats by 1 to maximum 20, and then whenever you use your full action, for clarification for any Blade Singers out there, or any bonus action casters, you can instead cast a cantrip.
Sorcerers.
Yeah, you can instead cast the cantrip twice. For these castings, the cantrip considers your level as 1st level. And the number of times you can cast it increases to 3 times at 11th level and 4 times at 17th. And if you cast a cantrip in this way, you can break up your movement between each casting. And then finally, if one of them fails, the casting fails, like if it's been counterspelled or something, then any remaining castings also fail.
Okay.
So
But if
essentially, everything's Eldritch Blast, but also you can move between them.
Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah.
Okay, and so for clarification, like fails wouldn't.
It doesn't mean if they succeed on their saving throw. It means if your
Yeah.
casting is interrupted in
It-
some way.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
the
okay.
casting fails. If someone makes their save, the
Gotcha.
casting didn't fail, the spell failed. That's different.
Gotcha.
That's how they word it for counterspell. They say that the spell fails the cast or something like that. So I just took that from counterspell. There's very few effects that do that. I think Mage Slayer also might do that. I don't actually remember. Like make your casting fail or something. But yeah, basically this is just you can cast a 1st level cantrip multiple times. In the same scaling as Eldritch Blast. So this does get some interesting things. The obvious thing is like, oh, I can cast Firebolt 4 times, but that's boring. What you could do instead is cast Shocking Grasp on someone, and when they're hit, they lose their reaction, and you can walk away and cast on somebody else, and keep doing that if you keep hitting.
That's cute.
Because Minor Illusion is that?
You can cast Minor Illusion, which I think it's actually concentration. It might not be though.
Well,
These
then,
are
no, you can't
separate
cast
castings. You can't concentrate on more than one still. So like things that require concentration, like True Strike, won't work. But things like
Well,
Blade
you
Ward
could.
but Blade Ward self, so I don't know why you would do that. What this just allows you to do.
No, Minor Illusion is only duration of 1 minute.
So yeah, you can have multiple minor illusions at once. You can also have multiple lights at once.
So I think that the most fucked up thing you can do with this is cast Green Flame Blade 4 times to give yourself 4 attacks.
Ooh, that's a thing, huh?
Yeah.
Fuck, I forgot about those goddamn cantrips. Because they're weapon. You actually attack with your weapon with those, which means you get all your weapons bonuses and shit, right?
Yeah.
God damn it! What a stupid fucking spell. I'll add something on there about like.
Okay, you could just say when you cast a cantrip that doesn't require you to make a weapon attack.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I could just add that. But other than that, obviously the main focus of this spell is 2 things. One, it makes potent spell casting cooler. Like if you're a cleric, you can potent spell cast and add your wisdom modifier to all of 4 of the castings. So that's dope. But the other thing is you can add the rider effect to multiple enemies. So if you're fighting, say, a band of trolls, you can hit them all with chill touch and they can't regenerate.
Or you could vicious mockery 4 people.
And give them disadvantage on the next attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, it just allows you to
Actually,
propagate your rider effects to more targets.
I don't think it's as bad on the green flame blade.
What does Green Flame Blade say?
You brandish your weapon and make a melee attack with it against one creature within 5 feet of you. On a hit, the target suffers the weapon attack's normal effects, and you can cause it to leap to one target, dealing your spellcasting a modifier.
The problem is that
I guess you could do multiple attacks on that target.
or
That's
to
a
multiple targets, you basically get the fighter's extra attack at high levels with Green Flame Blade.
Yeah, but at high levels, I mean.
Right, but you shouldn't be a blade slinger making 4 attacks.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a high level.
Shut the fuck up.
Dude, you can have 4 mage hands!
You
You
could
could
have 4
mage
mage hands. Just fucking 4 hands at once. That'd actually be pretty badass for like Arcane Trickster.
Or you could cast Thaumaturgy 4 times in a single action to slam every window in the bar.
Or do it multiple times, slam open.
Yeah.
Slam open, screaming, fire going out, fire going on.
That was 5 effects, Justin.
Fine. Get rid of the screaming.
But yeah, basically it's just it's great for combat, but also you could do fun things like the minor illusion thing. You can do like prestidigitations also. Something you could do like 4 fireworks. Like that's just the whole point. I definitely need to add something there to stop you from making melee or weapon attacks.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think it breaks anything.
Primal Savagery as well.
What does that one
Is
do?
It's a melee spell attack.
That one's fine because that one doesn't let you like attack with your weapon.
Gotcha.
Right, that one's no worse than Shocking Grasp.
Yeah, because you'd still be doing one die of damage with each attack. The problem is that if you do it with a weapon attack like Green Flame Blade, you get to add your extra bonuses to that from the weapon, and you don't want to be able to do that 4 times. That's too strong.
Dude, you can cast Shillelagh on a bunch of different well, it's a bonus action, so it doesn't actually do it, but...
You fool!
Thorn Whip? Yeah. Nice.
Nice.
I was just looking at all the cantrip you could do.
Yeah. Also, you could
True
also...
Strike.
This does help Eldritch Blast if, for instance, you need to move between attacks. It's just a nice little touch.
Right, because as written, you can't do that with Eldritch Blast.
And it's not like you're really sacrificing anything from just casting Eldritch Blast as if you're at level 1 4 separate times.
Oh, man. Create Bonfire to create 4 different bonfires. That'd be sick.
It's concentration, so you can't.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
God
But you
agree.
can't
Toll the
produce
Dead
flame
4
4
people, though.
times. Oh, yeah, you could Toll the Dead 4 times. Spare
Vicious
the
Mockery.
Dying.
Ooh.
Spare the Dying you could do 4 times if you have 4 people that you can get to.
If you need to do Spare the Dying 4 times, I think you have bigger
Wait,
problems.
If
Well,
you
you
need
might
to
be
cast
saving
Spare,
NPCs.
if you need to cast Spare the Dying
that's
4
fair.
times, you're going to be really fucking glad that you can.
Yeah. And be able to move between them.
Shape
yeah.
Water?
Yeah, there's a
At
lot of
this point,
cool
you're
things you can do with it.
You're just looking at cantrips now. You're
Yeah.
just looking at a cantrip.
it's a
just going
it's
like,
a thing that affects cantrips.
just
That
like-
is what I'm looking at.
you're just like randomly looking at cantrips. You're just like,
That's
dude,
what, hey, that's what,
mending 4 times.
that's what he's been doing the whole fucking time. That's what we've all been doing. What?
Thorn whip
Also-
4 times is pretty cool.
Also, why is Mind Sliver on this list 4 times? Oh, it's because it appeared in UA 3 times before it got published.
Jesus,
That's funny.
was it like published in like 3 separate UAs as like 3 different things, or was it published as like the same thing 3
It's
times? before the-
It's exactly the same, except one time they thought that maybe bards should get it.
Did
Bard should
Bards
get
not
it.
end up getting it?
No, they did not. Only Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard.
Bard should get it.
No, Bards have it. Bards must have gotten Tasha's because I have
In
a Bard. I have a
Tasha's
bard-
is where it was published. And it
I have
says
a Bard in
Sorcerer,
D&D
Warlock,
Beyond
Wizard.
that was able to take that spell. Or am I thinking
According-
of my Sorcerer?
According
I
to
might
what
be
I'm
getting my
looking
characters
at,
mixed up.
it's not available to bards.
Well, poor bards. That seems like a really good spell for them.
It
Yeah.
absolutely is. But bards aren't allowed to have damaging cantrips that are good.
I mean, vicious mockery is vicious mockery, man. But yeah, that's that one. Do we have any thoughts beyond the green flame blade problem?
No, seems dope.
No, I mean, I like this cantrip. I've looked at taking it in your campaigns. Like,
Hell yeah. Well, you won't be able to next campaign because you're not a fucking spellcaster, all right? Unless
No,
you
I'm
do magic
not.
initiate, in which case you could.
I would feel really stupid designing a spellcasting-less paladin and then taking magic initiate. I feel like
taking holy or divine warrior or whatever.
yeah, I'd feel like a real moron if I did that.
The next feat we've all seen before because I did it for a magical item, and I decided it wasn't appropriate for a magical item.
Was it a magical item or
remember.
was it an alternate class feature?
It was a magical item because
magical
we were
item.
doing martial class specific magic items.
Oh yeah,
But both
yeah,
of mine,
remember.
I was like, neither of these feel magical.
I remember that.
So,
Right, they just felt like alternate class features.
So for anybody who doesn't remember, Debilitator, I renamed it obviously.
You spelled
Also,
it wrong.
there's Debilitator is not a word, so you can't spell it wrong.
Debilitate is a word, and it's spelled with an E after the D.
Right, but so is terminate, but it's Terminator.
No, I'm saying the
The
first
first
vowel
I.
between the D and the B. That should be an E.
Oh, I see. No, you're right. My apologies. I thought you were calling out the OR.
Oh no, that's fine. There's plenty of words that do that.
Okay. Anyway, Debilitator. Prerequisite, 5th level rogue. When you hit a target and apply your sneak attack to the hit, you can forego a number of sneak attack dice to force the target to make a con save. DC based on strength or dex, your choice. If you're a strength rogue, I can't fight
Impossible.
that. On a failure, the target is afflicted until the end of your next turn by an effect of your choice based on the number of sneak attack dice foregone, as shown on the sneak attack cost table. On success, the target is unaffected. And then it's the same list as last time. 2d6 for deafened, 2d6 for disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, 2d6 for half speed, 3d6 for blinded, 3d6 for regain hit points, or don't regain hit points, 4 for disadvantage on saves, 4 for speed to 0, and 5 for incapacitated. I had thought about getting rid of the ones above 3d6, because this is another situation like Great Weapon Master, like I was saying earlier, of an ability that while the dice don't scale, it still scales with you because your sneak attacks will do more damage regardless of you sacrificing the d6s with it.
Right.
I also did remove the ability of being able to do more than one effect at once.
That
it's
seems
only
good.
one effect per turn because I felt like being able to do incapacitated and blinded would have been an issue. For
Right.
like a feat, you know.
Yeah.
One of these per turn, I felt appropriate, and it is a con save, so like it isn't free. They still have to fail a save to get it.
Right, and con is possibly the strongest save for generic creature to make.
Generic. Yeah, I think the numbers on this are totally fine. I like this one a lot. I thought this was cool when you had it for the other thing, but I think it's an awesome addition to having it as a feat. I think you're right. It's better as a feat than an item.
I think it is. One of my issues with making it a feat is just that putting it on my proficiency points table is more of a hassle now because it's the table.
Yeah.
So now I gotta like figure out how to do that. But other than that, I did feel weird about making a table for a feat.
Yeah.
However, Wizards just did that with their last UA, so I was like, I've been given permission.
Yeah.
No, you don't need permission, Shawn. None of us need permission from Wizards to
Yeah,
do
dude, we're
this.
all about bending the rules anyways.
Yeah,
True.
fuck
That's
Shawn-
what they do here.
As the person who has to answer angry Reddit comments, Shawn is the most concerned with whether or not there's precedent for something, though. So
It's
Yeah.
not like they even like look at the precedent for things anyways.
dude,
if I
Redditors are
didn't-
very.
If I
Redditors
didn't-
are.
Sorry,
You go.
if I didn't do that though, the ones who would be upset for the lack of precedent would start commenting.
Exactly. Redditors are obsessed with saying, actually, nothing in D&D can do that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's why I homebrewed this thing that does that.
Yeah. That's why I get a little bit antsy when we go too far off the path, because I'm like,
Yeah.
So I think at this point I might just be done responding to fucking Reddit comments. The problem is if I don't, it's less comments, and Reddit's algorithm will make it less likely for people to see it.
If you're done with Reddit comments, I can take over doing the comments on our Reddit.
Oh, if you want to,
threads.
holy shit, yeah, absolutely, please. You could log into the Dead Bards thing if you'd like and do it.
I've already got the credentials saved on my phone. Like I can log into it, I just don't.
Hell yeah. And then you don't have to add a thing every time and be like, hey, I'm one of the guys who's on this group, the blah blah blah.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't say that on my normal Reddit account because I don't want to dox myself on Reddit.
That's also true, yeah. Justin does though. Justin says it all the time.
Yeah.
Fuck it, it's my dox my Reddit.
Dox my Reddit. But yeah, I thought this would be cool as a feat. I'm still like, if I redesigned 5e, this would be like a
thing that rogues
cool.
could just do.
I think so, yeah. I think it'd be neat. I'd obviously give other classes cool stuff to do as well. Like, I think the fighter could also go with some cool shit, but you know,
like maneuvers.
You guys have seen my revised version of the fighter.
I have. It's awesome.
It's complicated.
It's not complicated.
It's caused confusion at my table because you know you do so much homebrew, you forget what you've allowed for this campaign, what's for the next one and shit. Just like last session, I was like, Zach, that feat doesn't work that way anymore. And I was like, wait, no, that's not until next campaign. It does work that way. I'm just doing something special for this guy.
That's the thing. I think it's especially confusing because parts of the table are using different pieces of homebrew. Like,
yeah. That shouldn't be as big of an issue next campaign where everything will just be allowed. It's just that we started this campaign with half of the campaign being like pretty straightforward to rules as written with some rulings.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the later half where I really started homebrewing shit.
I think the biggest homebrew thing at the start of the campaign was you letting me reflavor my damage types.
Yeah, there was that, and there was the fucking me trying to do 3E skill point system.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I think I joined after you did that.
You might have.
Wasn't that way after you gave us our first like cards? Because I think that was... No, never mind. No, it wasn't.
No. I don't know. Anyway.
Nobody knows what we're talking about.
No one knows what we're talking about.
This is the most alienating conversation we could possibly have.
No, I guess, people wouldn't be that upset to hear us talk about our D&D campaign, but maybe not this part of it, because they have no context for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my two feats. They're both things that we've seen before. And I just wanted to, put them out there because I think Cantrip Slinger is a fun idea. I think I've seen some people attempt stuff like this, and I've never been super satisfied with how they did it. So I was like, I'll try my attempt at it. And then again, I just think rogues being able to do this is just stuff I think of a rogue doing, like discombobulating, like blinding someone with like an eye gouge or something,
Right. Or like boxing them on their ears as they attack, and it's like, okay, you're deafened for a turn. Like,
yeah, discombobulating. That's Sherlock. Discombobulate.
Okay, I believe you.
I thought you knew those movies. Oh, that was the show you were referring to when we heard the music from the movie or from the show. When we had the level 21 shot, you're like, is this from Sherlock?
Yeah.
It was from the show, not from the Sherlock movies with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, you know what? I saw one of those once, like 10 years ago.
Those movies slap. Watch them if you haven't, guys.
They're pretty okay. They're definitely a different take on Sherlock. He's a little bit sexier,
I mean, I think that's fair. I think Sherlock deserves to be sexy.
He is kind of sexy. I mean,
I think now we're getting way off topic.
We don't have any more feats to talk about. Like,
you're right, we don't.
But we are also over time, so.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Guys!
Oh, so, what are we talking about next week, guys?
Dude, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like we're on the same...
I have an idea.
Cloud communication.
I have an idea. Mini bosses.
Oh, wow, that's a great idea, Justin. It's almost like we discussed this off stream.
not mini bosses. That's not what it is. It's low-level bosses. It is not. I mean, you could, I guess, use them as mini bosses, but they're meant to be bosses for low-level parties.
Yeah. Specifically,
Yeah, mini boss.
we are capping this at CR7, which
Mhm.
is half of the daily XP budget for a 4-player party of level 4 characters.
Yeah.
So these are tier 1 bosses. And by tier 1, I don't mean that they're top level cream of the crop. I mean they're for the shittiest heroes you've got. The lowest level rat catcher motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They should be able to handle these.
I do suspect, for balancing reasons, this would be the hardest because before level 4, they don't have extra attack. They don't have level 3 spells. Extra attack's the big one. Action economy is something you gotta really think about.
To me, the big thing is they've got like 5 fucking hit points.
Yeah, that is the thing. You can make a boss for like a level 1 party if you want. Maybe you want to make like an intro boss to your campaign or something, you know?
So I don't want
Good
to
luck.
give away too much, but I think it'll be really interesting to mess around with conditions on these bosses, because
Yeah.
conditions, as long as they don't deal damage, aren't deadly.
Yeah. And for a very low level, it's a good intro to how fucked up bosses can be.
Be
Sure.
careful with that, because I did do that in one of my campaigns, where it was like conditions / like restricting a person that caused one of my players to be pretty upset with the situation they were in, where they were like kind of unable to do anything for like 2 or 3 rounds, which was almost the whole
Sure.
combat.
Yeah, so you don't
Yeah.
want to be too restrictive with it, but maybe some fake conditions that don't exist in the 5e rules, but you can say like, oh, the character is strafed, and
Yeah.
strafed means that you can only take a bonus action or something, or I don't
That's
know.
a-
We're just like making them
Just
fall
make your
prone,
just
like-
make your save. That's all I gotta say about that.
Why are you so fucking close to the microphone, you ingrate?
That is, I mean,
Just to say that.
as just general advice for DMs out there, if you want your bosses to do cool condition stuff, do not fall back on the incapacitated condition. That includes incapacitating, that includes stun, that includes paralysis, because petrify, because it makes sense because your restrain's also pretty bad. The restrain's like, I think restrain's okay because you can still take actions. You can't move, which is frustrating, but you can still take actions, and you can still have a big impact on the battlefield while you're restrained, like putting out a buff. Maybe you have a way of overcoming disadvantage with restrained, like reckless attack. But like, you don't want for a boss combat to take your player out of the game, because they want to be involved in this climactic battle, right? You don't want them to be like sitting in the fucking dumper watching the rest of their party do shit in this what's supposed to be like a culmination of an arc or something like that, or like the last fight in a dungeon. You want it to feel climactic for everyone. And you can do things to your party, or you could do things to your monsters to make them seem more epic than just taking them out of the fight. So
I will say, if you really want to use one of those conditions, add extra ways to get out of it. Like having some having some in-game way to be like, oh, one of the other party members can do something. They can spend a bonus action on their turn to get you part way out of it or something. Like allowing them to still impact and interact with the game is huge.
And take measures as a DM to make those ways of getting out of it clear to the players.
Yes.
Because it's fine and dandy if you have 5 different ways to get out of this condition, but if your players don't know what the fuck they are, all they know is that their pal's incapacitated and they just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's our challenge for next week. Try to make interesting boss combats, maybe making action-oriented monsters, making legendary monsters, literally anything, but making it a fun, low-level boss for a party to take care of. Maybe cool mechanics for the actual combat, anything you want. But that's what we're doing next week. Any last words before we sign off, guys?
The word of the day is aril. ARIL. It's like a fleshy bit surrounding a seed on certain plants. I'm pretty sure. Have you guys ever eaten a pomegranate before?
I've seen one.
Okay, the little red things inside of the pomegranate that you actually eat, I'm pretty sure those are arils. They are little fleshy bits surrounding the seed of the fruit.
Gross. That probably
so like a
explains why I
grape.
didn't like it.
Well, no, grapes are drupes, I think. Grape. What's a grape? Tell me what a grape is,
What is
Google.
a grape?
What is a grape? I just got done eating the rest of the
What
grapes
about
in my house.
what about a peanut?
Peanuts are legumes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're seeds, right? And they're covered
Well,
by like a shell.
They're nuts, which I believe is different. Which is
No, they aren't nuts.
specifies-
They aren't nuts. They aren't nuts. They're
No.
legumes. They're more like beans.
Wild. I'm still gonna call them nuts. Anyways, drink more water, everyone.
Yeah, my thing is I'm probably gonna make a bullywug boss,
Hell yeah.
but
Yes.
Michinoku, if you're still here, I am gonna contemplate some sort of skeleton boss because I know that you'd love that.
I'm thinking about an Azer boss.
Yes, I was hoping
I'm-
you.
God damn it! Can we give a restriction for Adam? This is like the
No.
fourth time in a row.
What do
He
you mean?
does
The fourth
Azer, I
time in a
do
row?
bullywug. Fuck you. Do
Also-
dragon or wolf.
All right, fuck you.
Probably
was thinking
Storm
of-
for Justin.
No, I was actually thinking I was probably gonna go either troll or some type of undead.
A troll,
Undead would be cool.
interesting.
Oh man, like a zombie captain or something. That could be cool.
Undead's pretty on brand for you.
Is it?
Yeah, because you look like a fucking skeleton. All right, so
Excuse me? You see these guns? Do you think that I'm frail? This is the gun show, baby.
Why are
Look
you
at
so
those
loud,
bones.
Justin? Justin,
This
why
time-
are you so loud?
Cause I'm always loud.
Yeah, so am I though. Like you can tone it down a little bit when we're recording. Oh, he's gonna say it.
He's gonna say the thing.
That which is in the bones and lost must be found,
When you find it, you know.
and that which is found should be revived and remembered. Yeah. So okay, bye.